Hey, Kronda, thank you for being with us today. I'm so excited to be doing this with you today. Tell us a little bit about how you got here.
Oh man. How I got here. Well, I was going to make a bad joke. I'm not going to do that. Okay.
You can make bad jokes here.
No, I was going to go back to the stork and the anyway. How did I get here? Okay, so speaking in a professional context, how I got here is I wasn't one of those people that was like, I'm going to be this when I grow up. In fact, I hated that question. I always hated the like, where are you going to be in 10 years? Because I had no idea. Um, and so I just kind of, I went to school for a while. I had some jobs for a while, and I was working at a tiny little startup marketing company as a project manager. And I had a meeting with our freelance developer. And when he left, I had this light bulb moment that he was probably making, a lot more money than I was.
Mm.
And that he got to work wherever he wanted and he didn't have to like deal with my boss. And so I literally went back to my desk and started looking up, the local community college. How do I become a developer? I mean, at the time I didn't know what CSS was. I had actually asked one of our developers and he tried to explain it to me and I was like, yeah, no, it's not.
Okay, so
um,
you're probably going to have to tell most of our audience what CSS is, just to
yes.
clarify.
So CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets, and it's basically the programming language that makes the web look like the web. Like it controls the presentation of websites that you visit and other things. And yeah, so I didn't start out with this, sort of techie background, but I just decided that's what I wanted to do. And so I went back to school and eventually got my degree and worked for, a bro filled tech company for a couple of years and got fired for culture fit. That's in quotes, culture fit.
Wait, you
Um,
actually got fired for culture fit?
yeah,
Oh,
it's a
damn.
legend. That's like he actually said those words and I was like, wow,
Oh, damn.
you're just going to say that out loud. Okay. Um and I always went into it with the goal of working for myself, and so when that happened, that was November 2012. I was like, cool. I was mad for like 15 minutes and then I was like, oh, okay, great. Like now I go out on my own. And so I did that starting in January of 2013. And I started out making $500 web WordPress sites like you do, and then I progressed into trying to figure out how to make sites that actually help a business.
Wait, a
Which
$500 WordPress site doesn't help a business? What do you mean, Kronda?
anyone has figured out how to make that happen, like definitely let us know. But yeah. So then I started studying marketing, and then I raised my website prices, and then I got fed up with trying to do projects for business owners who had no idea how to market their business and would not let me help them because they're like, just make the website. So then I stopped doing projects altogether in 2019 and I just went into coaching. So I decided to coach mission driven service based business owners about content marketing. And that went well in terms of, the way clients showed up. It went well in terms of the results they were getting. It didn't go well in terms of me being able to pay my bills, just because I didn't have enough clients. It's like I didn't do like the sort of smooth, fade in of like, oh, let me keep doing projects to make money, while I was done and I was just like record scratch, complete pivot. And so it was painful. 2019 was like financially painful. But I just kept at it. And then towards the end of the year, my coaching clients who now understood why I was talking to them about the tech that I was talking about. Like, here's why I use these tools. And they were like, oh, so my Squarespace site isn't going to let me do all these cool things that you just taught me, or my Wix site or my free MailChimp or whatever. And so then I got kind of sucked back into doing projects for people who at least like trusted my opinions about it. And so rather than go back into like doing custom proposals and things like that, I just created a program that is retainer based, where it's like everything that I teach people to do, like we will do it for you. And it's an ongoing relationship. So those are the two things that I do now. I coach service-based business owners on content marketing and teach them how to build their brand voice and connect with their audience. Because I believe if you try to outsource that before you actually do it yourself, it's just going to end in tragedy.
Yes, agreed.
And then and then I have a done for you side where I will help them take the strategies that they've learned and execute them.
I love that so much. I feel like we have had sort of similar journeys in that respect, where like I tried to be like, oh, I'm not going to do projects anymore. I'm only going to coach people. But then I was getting pissed off at the people that were doing their projects.
Yes, it's control. Like, don't come to me with your shitty website and your janky, Aweber or whatever it is, and be like, help me. I'm like, nope, we got to start over. So I try to catch them before.
Fair enough. So I think the first question I'd love to ask you, because I know everyone is sitting here probably listening to this thinking, well, how do I know if I've got a shitty website? So what are some of the things that people need to like think of right off the bat of, is my website really working for me?
Well, one of the really easy ways is, do you have lead capture? Like, can people come to your website and use that as a door, as a starting point to actually engage with you further? So that's the number one thing. Like that's what I figured out in the early days of why, this website isn't really doing anything, because people might be looking at it, but how would you know? Right. And how do you, business is really about building relationships. And how do you do that if all people can do is go to your website and look at some stuff and leave? So that would be the first thing. And then, there's all kinds of ways and levels to answer that question. But, on a technical level, is it easy for people to navigate and find the information they need? Like, do you have the information they need on the website? I think so a lot of people go into web projects with this like, oh, I need this page and this page and this page. And it's like these boxes they're checking without actually thinking about the people who are going to come there and what they want those people to do and what those people might need. And so being really like audience focused or customer focused, and that is one of the hardest things, even for me. When it's your own thing, you just have this blindness because you're so familiar. And so you won't even see like, so case in point, I went on to a website and they had a great YouTube video testimonial, but it was inside of a slider that was auto sliding. And so it's like, oh, I want to watch this video. Oh, it's gone. and then it's still playing in the background. Right. But it's behind the slider.
Oh, that's super weird. Okay. I could go on a hour-long podcast rant about my problems with sliders to begin with, but
well, yeah, that's a whole episode in itself. So there's your first, right? If you have a slider, there's your first problem. Or like, even if it's a text testimonial, like, and I'm actually trying to read it and it's gone. So just like, there's the usability standpoint, like, can people actually take in the information that they want to take in? Then there's there's the usability standpoint from the company side. Like, can you actually use this thing for marketing? If you need to create a landing page, can you do that? If you need to go in, if you're up at 3 a.m. and you're like, ooh, I see a typo, I want to go in and change it. Like, can you do that? Or do you have to wait a week for your developer to get back to you? Or if you try to do it, will you break something? There's this whole thing about like websites that are really pretty and just really crap under the hood. And hard to use. So those are like some of the red flags.
Okay, we have to unpack these because I have like so many things that we can talk about here. The first thing I have to say is like, yes, please key in y'all to what Kronda just said. If you cannot use your own website in a 2020 world, there's problems. Like there's no reason why your developer should have to do everything for you.
Correct. Yeah,
it's great if you have a great one who does, but they should not have to.
Right. And I actually have an article from 2014 about this phenomena, and I named it the underhaul. Like, websites pretty on the outside, crap on the inside. You just need someone to come scrape out the insides and replace it with something that's actually usable, for a business owner who may or may not be super technical.
Yeah. I love that. This audience has heard me say, unless it's their first time here, many times before, that all you have to do is look at Amazon to know that ugly websites sell, but pretty websites don't always sell.
Exactly. Yeah. Craigslist, anyone? I mean, come on.
Yes. I'd also like to unpack with you here this idea of lead capture, because I think there's a lot of layers to lead capture that business owners don't often think about. And there's this issue of a lot of people feel gross about it because it's done in gross ways a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So let's talk about lead capture,
Let me just
Kronda.
riff on lead capture. Okay. So I talk to a lot of people who really have a lot of issues with email marketing in general, right? And this is, so when we talk about lead capture, we're talking about you go to someone's website, usually they offer you something, right, in exchange for your email address, and then you get onto their list, right? Or maybe they just have the, like, sign up for my newsletter and you get onto their list. Many of the people that I talk to who, they have a lot of mindset issues around this. They don't like marketing, like all of these different things. And a lot of times it's because they've experienced really bad marketing. And I just want to say to you that just because you have received bad marketing doesn't mean you have to give back bad marketing. Like, if you're not having orgasms, it doesn't mean other people aren't having fabulous orgasms on the daily. Like, you can change this scenario. You're in charge. And really, to me, what good marketing looks like is exchanging value. Like, the whole point of, getting that email address and starting that relationship. It doesn't even have to be email. This could be, people who are following you on social, although, don't build your whole business around social media, but there's lots of different ways to connect. And the key to me is, are you giving value? So case in point, I had a client who, she has a new program. She was very hesitant to, like, send that initial email to her people saying, like, oh, I have this new thing. She sat on it for 2 weeks, finally did it. And then a few days later was like, okay, when should I email them again? Like, well, first of all, the energy of that question is a very salesy energy. It's a very, like, ooh, I need clients. Like, how soon can I talk about this again? Because nobody responded. And you have to switch to a serving mentality, which is, I know I have something that's really going to help people. And I know that I know this client, I know this program, I know it's going to be amazing for whoever gets into it. And that is the energy that you have to lead with. So I'm like, go do your 10 by 10 or a 5 by 5, which is an exercise that I give people where they can come up with a lot of content ideas, like, in a very short period of time. And then go figure out, like, how can I serve these people through email? How can I serve them through, video? How can I show you, like, in writing, they say show, don't tell, right? So in marketing, show people how you can help them with your free content or your low cost content. And then I don't have any issues with, like, oh, how many emails do I send? Because the mentality I'm coming from is, I wake up and I'm like, oh, my people need to hear this today. Right.
Yes.
And it's usually based on a conversation I had within the last couple of days where I'm like, this week, my people are going to hear about, you know, raising their prices and charging appropriately, and not giving up because something is expensive. Because I had a strategy call with someone who was like, she was on board, and I was like, this is where I think you are, this is how I can help you. She's on board. And then I tell her the price and she's like, oh, well, I can't do that. And then it's like, game over. And I'm like, if that is the thing that's going to stop you, then you're dead in the water. Like, you're not going to make it in business, because it's just another obstacle. It's just another problem to solve. You don't have the money for something you want, go sell some stuff and get the money. So that's where my content comes from. And that's where my energy comes from when I'm, communicating people, be it my Facebook group or my email. So To bring it back around to lead capture, your people are out there, they've got problems. Solve one of their problems, make something that can solve a little piece of one of their problems and offer it to them. And make sure that it's actually related to your core offer. Because this is another thing that happens. People are like, oh, I'm supposed to have a lead magnet, so let me make something. And it has nothing to do with what you're actually selling. So,
Yeah.
so
Let's break down some of those pieces too, because I want to, like, I am the nerd that gets super granular on stuff. So I think people getting really bad emails is a big barrier. And I'm really glad that you addressed that, because we've gotten a lot of bad emails, but I think most of us have gotten an email that was like exactly the right thing at the time we needed it. Or we get emails from someone that we really love their content and we feel like they're talking to us every time we get an email from them. That is like service at its highest level to me, like giving someone exactly what they need in that moment. So email, if you're approaching it, like you said, kind of from a place of service, can be really beautiful because it's a more intimate way to connect with someone than through a social media post.
yes, exactly. And I get replies all the time. It's like, well, when I first started, I would get people who said, oh, I thought that was just to me. Like they didn't realize
Yeah.
it was
Yep.
like, a mass email, which is a good sign. And then, I get replies that are like, oh, just this thing, this just one thing that you said was so valuable, or just this thing that you said, helped me have a mindset shift, or just watching your journey is so inspiring. Like I get, feedback like that all the time.
That's beautiful. I love that. And I used to do these Tuesday messages, and for a while after I stopped doing them, I would get emails like, I didn't get your Tuesday email today. When are you sending your Tuesday?
That's always great when they
Yeah.
miss you. That's so good.
So the other thing I wanted to point on lead capture here is there's some nuts and bolts issues that happen for people with the way their website captures leads. For example, if you have a pop-up box that doesn't disengage easily on a mobile device, or if there's 15 things popping up, over top each other and really bothering someone when they're trying to consume your content. So like, can you talk about a way to actually do lead capture on your website that both works and isn't really invasive?
Super annoying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so uh, I try not to get too nerdy into the tech, but I will say that
Oh, this is a nerdy place.
oh,
There
okay.
used to
All right. All
be.
right, cool. Let's go there then. So the tool that I use is the company that I use for these tools is called Thrive Themes, and they make an entire suite of um, marketing focused plugins for WordPress. And so that's what I use to build landing pages, and they have a lead capture plugin. So the kinds of things that you can do, and I'm not saying this is the only tool that can do that, but the kinds of things that are built into that are, you can decide if you have a lead capture form, you can really easily say, don't show this on mobile, and then you can make a mobile version. So maybe you do have the pop-up on desktop, and maybe you have just the little top bar on mobile, or maybe you don't show it on mobile at all. So that's like one example. You can have specific forms show or not show based on where people came from. So if you have a subscriber who clicks through a link to your blog post, and you have let's say you have a form, a lead capture form in your sidebar that's like, get this lead magnet. Well, because they clicked that link and they're on your list, you can make a smart link that knows like, oh, this is already a subscriber. And so maybe you can change that form to say something totally different, because like, this person's already on my list. I don't need to bug them to get on my list. So maybe it's like, hey, welcome back. Here's a free resource for you that doesn't require opt-in, right? So context, just keeping context in mind, um, and using the tools available to create the experience based on the context that you're aware of.
I love that so much. Context is so important. And one of the tools I got on that I still love for mobile forms, if you want to like DIY some of this in a really easy way, is get your, this comes from a professor of user experience at the University of Florida, just to give credit where credit is due. But I'm not going to use her name because I didn't ask for permission. She takes her students and she ties pens or pencils around their fingers with like surgical tape to hold them at kind of a crooked angle and make them a little bit longer to simulate what it's like to use a website or use an app without with arthritis or without full use of your hands.
Oh.
And then she asks you to use a website. And the thing that you see almost always is that pop-ups are the biggest problem, whether it's a pop-up ad or a pop-up form, because there's usually like a tiny X in the top corner to get rid of it, or a line at the bottom to get rid of it. It's almost impossible to hit if you don't have full mobility in your hands.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So what Kronda is talking about here of changing out your mobile version to banner, it's both better for experience for everyone, but also essential for experience to someone who doesn't have 100% mobility in their hands for whatever reason. So a lot of these things that we're talking to you about doing for user experience are both like the right thing to do for everyone, and really critical for people of varying abilities. So I just wanted to point that out because like this thing was such a great thing, I feel like, for everyone, but also has a really like utilitarian use for people with mobility issues.
Yeah. Well, and while we're on the subject of accessibility, I'll just bring up one of my huge pet peeves, which is just tiny fonts.
Yes.
You know, I'm pushing 50. I'm going to be 50 in 8 months. And I'm like, if I am sitting at my desk at a reasonable distance from my laptop and I have to squint to read your text, like why? Or I messaged a friend and I was like, this is a really pretty website, but I can't actually even read your headers because the font is so scripty and curvy and pretty. And I'm like, let's remember why we're here. You're trying to convey information. Let's make sure that the information can actually be accessed.
Okay, so this is one of Rena's rules of digital marketing: no script fonts. I'm just like full stop, no script fonts.
Yeah,
if you want
no,
them,
I agree.
hire someone else.
Right? Yeah, lines in the sand. I have many.
So other things that come up around that, for that type of thing for you a lot, what do you see on a website that just makes you cringe?
Oh man. Okay. So tiny fonts, we talked about bad pop-ups, sliders, just avoid, just don't. If you're not sure, like just don't. Um oh, the other one is that we haven't talked about is just like me-centered language. And once you understand this and internalize it, it's very easy to spot within seconds when you are visiting the web, where you go to a site and it's like, hey, welcome to our site, and here's all about us, and here's all the awards we've won, and here it's just like, and here's all the media we've been featured in, and nothing about like why I came there, which is probably to solve a problem or purchase something. And it's so your website is really about your users. Like even your about page, it's only sort of about you, and it's really about how do you help people. Like that's what a good about page does. So it's just one of those things that I've internalized, and so I can spot it really quickly, and I can spot it really quickly in emails and like any communication when you're just like me. So go look at your website now with that lens.
Okay, so I love this. Let's talk about this a little bit more, because I've been on I've been on a little bit of a hot button with my client. I work with a lot of women in the personal development, coaching, healing space, where their websites, because that's how some expert taught them to do them, are all them all the time. It's like beautiful pictures of them on the beach and them feeding children and them like dancing in moon dust. And, you
Yes.
know, why is that not the right approach?
Because because it's all about okay. The number one thing that everyone cares about the most is themselves. Right? That's how your website ends up like that, right? But if you want people to actually pay you and become your clients, you have to be all about them because that's what they're thinking about. They're thinking about themselves. They're thinking about their problem. They're thinking about their, mindset limitations, like whatever it is you help people with, they're thinking about themselves. And so you have to show them that you understand their problem, sometimes better than they understand it. And so I'll give a concrete example of this that we already talked about was like the underhaul, right? The crappy website
Yes.
underneath that looks great. And so you could, as a non-technical business owner who doesn't know anything about that, you could go out and you could do your best due diligence to hire a developer or designer to make this website for you. And they give it to you and it looks good. So you think, great, we're good. And you're actually not good because then you start trying to use it and you find out like you're not good and you spent all this money, right? So my mission is to educate people about that phenomenon. So when you go to the article, it's not like, let me show you how much I know about websites. It's like, let me show you this thing that you really need to be aware of so that, if I got to you in time, you can avoid it. And if I didn't, you can at least know what's going on and how to fix it, which is usually to start over,
Yes.
unfortunately. But like, that's, all of my content comes from that lens of like, and it's usually because I'm ranting or or pissed off about, it's like I see people doing things and I'm like, okay, well, you're not going to listen to me, but I can save somebody else. So let me go write about this or let me go make a video about this. And that's really kind of the genesis of all my content is how can I help people? And so you have to develop that lens. And I posted on my Facebook profile the other day. I don't even know why this thought came to me, but I said I turn business owners into thirst traps. And it's, and you're all about inbound, I know. So like that is the heart of inbound is like become so valuable like in your service to people that they're like, okay, I know I need you, even if it's not the right time. Like I have people, Bushra Azar is always saying, I want people on my, I want to be on their bucket list or their vision board or their credit card bill. Like that's it.
Mm.
So like there's people out there that have told me like, oh yeah, no, I'm gonna hire you. Like either they're collecting their coins or it's not the right time or whatever it is. And so like that wasn't always the case, right? That was a long time of me like being out here just doing these things really consistently and showing up really consistently to where now I have, I just know that there's people in the pipeline. And I actually got someone on my calendar the other day who was like, I've been circling your program for months, like just, obsessing over the testimonials from your introverted clients. Cause that was, a lot of people are like, oh, I need to do this, but how do I put myself out there? And I'm like, nope, introverts can do it too. I have receipts. Right? So
Yeah.
there's people out there like watching you, and how are you showing up for them, not just, to make yourself look good.
Yeah, I love that because I think that a lot of what you get in internet marketing and digital marketing training courses is kind of cults of personality.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a lot of people come into this space first through people like Marie Forleo and Amy Porterfield and people like that who, not to knock them, but they are really personality cults. They're very driven by a fame thing around that person. And that's not the best way for most of us to build a business.
And a lot of people don't want to be famous. Let's be honest, like they cringe at the thought of, I've had people, when people want to work with me, they go and they get on my calendar and they fill out a little application, just so I can learn, some more about like what they're experiencing and what they want help with. And I had someone say like, well, I'm just really afraid that I'm going to have to show up on the internet. Like I don't want to be known. I don't want to be seen. Which, to some extent you or your company have to be seen and known and like grow an audience, but it doesn't have to be this fame thing. That's different from, being known because a lot of people know you or you're internet famous versus being known because you have solved the problem that you solve so much that, people know like, oh, when I'm ready to solve this problem, I'm going to go to this person.
I love that. That's a red flag for me, actually. If somebody comes to me and wants to work with me because they want more notoriety, that is seriously, I had one of these calls the other day where someone's like, I want to speak at all the like big, huge places like Davos and places like that. And like, but why? I'm like, because I deserve to. That's probably, you're not in the right place. I can't help you with that.
Yeah, I get the opposite where I get people who, I'm trying to figure out, like, I'll ask them about their revenue goals. Well, I'm not really motivated by money. I'm like, well, but you like to eat, right? And you have rent to pay, and so they're so impact focused that we have to get at it through this other channel of like, okay, this thing lights you up, but that thing costs money. So let's figure out how much money it's going to cost for you to do this thing you want to do.
That's perfect. One of the things that I'd love to talk with you about, because you've been, and I just, so everybody knows, I asked Kronda for permission to do this before I did not just throw this on her, but you and I have been in this space for a long enough time that sometimes I feel like a dinosaur. I've been in this space since 2008. You said that you were working as a developer in 2012. So like, and we are both not white 25-year-old dudes. In case you can't tell from our voices. I feel like 90% of the business owners that I have worked with, though, have had at least one website built by a 25-year-old white dude. Why is that a web guy? We'll just call them web guys.
Web guy.
Why should you be wary of web guys?
Oh my goodness. I love that you asked this. Okay. So the problem that I have found is that a lot of really great developers got that way because they really love code. They really love coding. Nothing wrong with that, right? But you cannot expect your web developer to be your marketer. And this is something my mentor, Chris Davis, talks about all the time. And so if you have a business and you are building a website for marketing purposes, then you have to keep your eye on the prize. And your web developer who really just wants to use the latest JavaScript framework doesn't give a fuck about your marketing. 25-year-old web guys don't give a fuck about your marketing. I have yet to meet one. If that unicorn is out there, like by all means call us out. But so you have to get someone who understands the purpose and the result. This is about results, right? What is the end result you want? Is it a pretty website? Cool. Go get the web guy. He can probably make you a pretty website. But if your end result is to have a marketing tool that helps you grow your business, then you need someone in charge of that project who understands how to get you that result. And that is really, that's my unfair advantage, is that I went and I learned the code and I can build the websites, and it's so much easier now than it used to be. But my focus is, what is the purpose of this? Like, how is this going to grow your business? How are we going to market? What's the strategy? Like that is why I stopped doing websites for almost a year, is because, people were coming in and they weren't clear on their strategy. Yeah. And I would find that out like mid project and then try to help. And then they'd be like, just build a website. And I just got sick of it. So like I try to do everything in the way that I work with clients now holistically. And that's why I just have 2 programs, and that's like, those are the containers that I work in, because it gives me a way to address like the holistic. So, if you come to me and you want to, engage on a done for you level where we're actually building tech and connecting and doing automations and stuff, the first step of that is marketing intensive, where we spend, like significant amount of time just digging into like, what's going on with your business right now? What's your customer journey? Like, what's our strategy? And I
Yeah.
build that and I give that to you and I map it out for you. And then we can talk about doing some stuff. And the result of that is that now, with clients who've been with me a while, we can do things really quickly. I had a client who came to me in one of our weekly meetings and was like, I created a new product. And it was part of a challenge we were in. We were doing like a 10 make 10K in 10 days challenge. Um, and so her thing was a massage box, like has cups in it, has bath salts, like has all these cool things. And so she's like, okay, I'm doing this thing. And also my birthday's coming. So I want to do like a birthday discount push. And so we built out the whole back end for that, meaning like what happens after you buy, right? You get the confirmation email. How do you get access to the information you need? All that stuff. We built it out in 2 days. And we could do that because we had spent the year working together, building her foundation, making sure her website was solid and easy to use, making sure she had the right suite of tools that were all connected. Then you can move really fast. But the foundation building has to happen first. And web guys don't do that.
I love that so much. So we're much the same. Like when someone comes to work with us, there's a 6 to 10, depending on the size of the company, a 6 to 10 week onboarding process that, like, if they're not willing to do that, and it's, strategy design, persona development, content audit, all that stuff, if they're not willing to do that part, we're not going to work together. And it's because of what you're saying. I've built websites on the opposite of you, though. I built websites because I had to. Like, we have to build websites. I don't actually ever want to.
I actually
all
don't
I
want
to do
either.
is the strategy and
Yeah.
the SEO work.
Yeah. And that's the part I like too. And I mean, I have a team that does the actual building, but yeah, if I felt like there was a resource out there where I could send somebody and say like, go get your website done and then we'll manage it, like I would do it. But there's very, very few people that I
Yes.
trust to do something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You're 100% right. And I'd like to give everyone a cheat code because I've been seeing a lot of this lately. If you meet with a web company and they show you as a part of their like sales pitch or whatever, the Easter egg on a website that they've built, that's a dead giveaway that they don't have the right priorities.
Yes. I love that. I love that cheat code.
I keep seeing that lately. And they're like, look at this cool thing we put in this website.
No.
Just no.
I love that. I'm not even exposed to those pitches anymore. So that is brilliant. I love it.
Yes. So the other thing is, talk to me a little bit about the importance of your web team, not just your developer, but the people writing your content, helping set up your automations, things like that, understanding who you're selling to.
Well, I mean, that's everything. It's literally everything. Like, when people have problems coming up with content or they have problems coming up with their marketing, all those things, it's usually that they don't really know their audience well enough. I would say that is 80 to 90% of the battle, is that if you really know and understand your audience and what they are struggling with, and that you have the solution and how that solution helps them, it's so easy to come up with content. And that's, when people come into my program, that's the first thing we work on is offer, audience, and messaging. Like those are the 3 basics. If you don't have those, like no amount of technology and automation and fanciness like is going to help you. And I'm always saying, like, if you can't sell it with a Google Doc and a PayPal button, then you probably shouldn't create it. Right? You have to be able to communicate the value and validate it via someone actually paying you money before you should be building it. And I say that as someone who, I built a mammoth course, teaching people how to DIY their websites. And like, nobody wants that. Right? But I was like, this is going to be great. It wasn't great. It's a great asset now. Like, I have these lessons to teach my clients, like, hey, go set up your domain or, so yeah, I lost track of that. I went down the rabbit hole there, and
No, that's good. So I wanted to ask you kind of a follow-up to that. So you said if you can't sell it with a PayPal button and a Google Doc, you maybe shouldn't create it. But I also think there's this tension point between a lot of online marketing people being like, sell, 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 and then you can create it after you've sold it. So talk a little more about what you mean when you're saying you should be able to sell it, like people should
okay.
want the thing.
Yeah. So I'll give you the example from my program. I went into coaching, and that was my thing, and that was my jam. And I was just going to do that and never make a website again. And then I saw that my clients were struggling, right? And they were struggling with a problem that I knew how to solve. So I
Yes.
was like, okay, well, let me help you with that. But I also knew that I didn't want to go down the path where I was back to, okay, let me, you come to me with a set of what you think you need. Right. And then I create a proposal to answer that. And then like, I knew I didn't want to go back there. And so I just spent some time, and I literally created a Google Doc, and I was like, these are all the things I've seen y'all struggling with, and this is what I've created to address it. So my program's called Insourced. All the things that I tell people to use or teach people about. So WordPress, email marketing, Active Campaign, Thrive Themes, the marketing tools that I mentioned, Member Vault, which is another great tool that I use. Like all of those things, I was like, we will manage all of those things for you. We will maintain your website. You can send us requests to have us put up blog posts, or you can send us a request to send your marketing emails every week. So all you have to do is come up with the content and send it to us. And I was like, and then, so once I did that, I did my draft, and I literally sent it to my clients, and I'm like, tell me what you think about this and give me all your questions. And so they commented on the Google Doc, we talked in our coaching calls, and they had some really great valid questions, or they were confused about this, that, and the other. And I just kept editing until they were like, yep, this is amazing. And then I was like, great, who wants it?
Perfect.
So it's not the reason people say that all the time is because you don't want to spend, I probably spent, on the behemoth course that I made, if I had paid myself, it was probably like $20,000 to $25,000 worth of effort over 3 months for a thing that I really didn't sell to that many people.
I've been there.
Yeah. It's like we've all been there. So when people say that, like that's what they're trying to help you avoid, is spending all that effort and time and money making something that nobody wants. So there's a way to, you should be able to communicate the value enough that people will say, yes, I want this. And maybe you're not selling in the whole thing. Maybe you're saying, great, put a deposit on this and, it'll be ready in a month. Like that's what they did with the massage box, which for the folks who see this on video, let's see, there we go. And so I'm going to do an unboxing video. So I haven't even opened it yet, but, we created this in late July, early August, and sold a bunch of them. And then it took her a while to like source all the materials and, get everything together and get the artwork and the packaging. And so people are going to start getting their boxes. And in the meantime, they've been getting email updates. They've been getting bonus videos about how to do cupping or how to manage pain with ear acupressure. Like we're keeping people engaged this isn't new, right? This is Kickstarter. This is Indiegogo. Like it's not new. So that's the spirit of it. And it's not like, oh, let me see how much money I can get from people, without actually creating anything. It's like, no, let me validate this idea before I outlay all this effort.
So I'm glad you said it that way, because I think that there are so many of these just bullshit marketing things that started from a good place and
Right.
then got really, really wrong. Like this idea that people will teach you to like sell your business and then create it after everyone's bought it is probably a bad idea. But if you think of yourself as co-creative with your customers and you're transparent about that's what's happening, right?
Yes.
You're not going to get your box next next Monday. It's going to be a little while, right? Not selling
Yes.
it and then telling them it's going to be 2 months.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
um, this co-creative idea is a way, especially for a lot of companies without all the resources for R&D, to create new things and fund creating new things while still staying in integrity.
I have another really great example of this actually, from Member Vault, which is they're a company that does it's a place where you can host your free and paid content. It's sort of a,
Mm-hmm.
you can think of it as a course platform. And it's run by a married couple and they have a small team now. And it just, in addition to making great software, the way that they run their company is so amazing. And so one of the things they did was they created lifetime deals basically. And they were really transparent. They were like, hey, we really want to upgrade the design and we want to
Mm-hmm.
hire a really great designer, and that costs a lot of money. So we're going to offer 100 of these lifetime packages to basically internally fund this effort. And they just continue to do that, to be super transparent about, hey, we're doing this and this is why. And they're just so connected to their audience and so transparent. And I got an email today actually from Erin, and it was like, hey, that mini course template that I was talking to you about and validating last month, it's going to happen. And here's where I'm at. And here's when this will be ready. And here's when this part will be ready. And it's such a great example. Like everything they do is such a great example of what you're talking about.
That's very cool. It's so, I think thinking about when we're talking about doing these marketing things that are really important in a way that isn't gross, whether it's your email marketing, whether it's your lead magnet, whether it's your how you create and sell your programs, it's thinking about what experience would you want to have if you were the one on the other side of it, right? Like, would
Yeah.
I want to get this email? Would I want this pop up at this moment? You know?
Yeah. Although I will say one caveat to that is that a lot of
Yes.
people, when we're talking about email marketing, they're like, I hate getting email. And it's like, okay, cool. Like you are not your market. So
Mm-hmm.
so I think there's definitely some wisdom in that, but also if you know that you have that difference from your market, then that's not always a reliable gauge. Another one that I use is, would you do this in person? Because one of the, how I describe what I do is I teach people how to be people online, because I work with a lot of folks who, especially now since COVID, have been forced to go online, right? So they've been relying on referrals, they've been relying on meetups and speaking and all these in-person things, and they don't know how to translate their passion and their energy into the online space. And, I know that people don't know how to be people online from the DMs that I get. Like I will accept a friend request and the very first thing will be like the pitch, like
Yes.
just a hard fastball into the DMs. And I'm like, so if we ran into each other on a street corner, would you say this? And I've asked people that and they're like, no. I'm like, then why on earth? Sometimes if I'm feeling mellow, I'll be like, do you want to come into my group and like learn better? And I had a couple people accept, and I don't know, hopefully they're learning better. Um, but yeah, it's like, would you do this in person, if you were standing there? And that's
Yes.
also a good measuring.
Yeah, I love that so much. And we've been talking, when this episode airs, it'll be 2 weeks before yours. We talked to an expert on accessibility for your digital content. And so that's been really heavy on my mind lately because this is an area where I am trying to do better. And I think using that same line that you are saying there, like, how would you behave in person? What would you want available to people out in the real world is a really good thing to hold close when you're thinking about your digital footprint.
Yeah.
Because this kind of is the real world now for a lot of people, right?
Well, yeah, that's true. That's exactly true. Yeah. It's like, this is all we got
Yeah.
for a lot of time.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting transition for people for sure.
Definitely. So, Kronda, is there anything else that you feel like people really need to know when they're thinking about their website and their customer journey um, in the context of this conversation?
Um, I think the thing that I see missing the most from business owners is that it takes time. You have to actually step back and um, you have to think about where are people, like what's their mindset when they encounter you. And again, my mentor, Chris Davis, has a great episode on his podcast about contextual calls to action, right? So not just thinking about like, what do I want someone to do, but where do they come from? Like where are they in their journey when I'm talking to them about this? How did they get to this page? What do I want them to do next? What's their mindset when they're getting like the first email ever from me versus someone who's been on my list for 6 months? Really, it's really going to serve you well if you just think through. And it's top of mind for me because I just went through this with a client yesterday where we're like, okay, what are the, say the top 6 things that folks are struggling with, like when they encounter you, like literally their people are searching the web for these answers. I'm like, so what are the top 6 things? And then we went through and kind of said, okay, what's the bullet point that we want to convey? What's the mindset shift that we want them to have from this email? And really like take them on that journey. And if you cultivate that mindset throughout your marketing, where you're really thinking about like, where are people, where am I trying to get them to go, and how are we helping them? I think that's the overarching takeaway. I think if you take that away from this episode, it'll just serve you in whatever other microcosm you're dealing with, whether it's email, whether it's a web page, or if you keep that lens in mind, it'll serve you well.
I love that. And we'll link to that episode. And it makes me want to share with you. So, what we create with our retainer clients is we play buyer's journey bingo. And it comes from a concept from Jay Barr that I have found to be true, that almost every company has 5 personas, 5 phases of the buyer's journey, 5 questions to answer to move from each phase. So
Oh, I
we have a
love it.
bingo board for each client, and every campaign we're trying to make a bingo through the buyer's journey bingo.
Oh my
And
God, I love it. I love it.
so if you do that though, it takes, at the resource level of most of our clients, it takes a good year to build out a really solid buyer's journey for one persona. Like it's and it's ever evolving and there's always more to do, but like a good solid structural journey, it takes about a year because we don't have $1 million but marketing, at least none of my clients have $1 million marketing budget. So,
Yeah. But as long as you're getting results, right, you can continue to build. And this is a lot of
exactly.
clients come to me and this is one of my red flags when they really think the website's going to solve all their problems.
Mm.
And I just went through this where someone came to me, and I used to do these one-day websites, just to kind of get people up and running. And so I sold her one of those. And then when we went to start, it became really clear that I'm like, oh, you don't have your offer audience messaging down.
Yes.
And I was like, oh no, you need boot camp. And we had to pivot. So it's like, you have to have those foundational things in place. And the other thing I'll say is just, this is like a philosophy and a sort of how I run my business. And also the name of my upcoming podcast is Begin As You Mean to Go On.
Oh, I like it.
And by that, it's like I see people all the time in groups, and they're like, what's a free tool that does X, or what's it, if you're coming at your business from a mentality of like, how can we do this the easiest, then you're not going to have great results. And so begin as you mean to go on is really a philosophy about making decisions, not just about what do I need right now, but what's my business? What do I want my business to be like 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? And making the decision from that place, like from the place of
Yes.
growth and vision and expectation, and not from the place of fear. Oh, I can't afford that software. Right? Or, like not that place, from the place of like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to have, 1,000 subscribers, 3 months from now. So let me get the software that's going to allow me to facilitate that and make the best use of that.
Yeah, I love that. And so if people are listening to this podcast for a while, have heard me say that around here, sustainability is sexy. Like that is
Oh yeah.
we're all about sustainability. I would much rather see people move slower and
Mm-hmm.
lay better foundations.
Yes.
Yeah,
Which will give you better results in the end. Like,
absolutely.
and I'm proof of that. Like I recently, I recently went from kind of like the struggle bus, honestly, to just really, really doing well. So I did, July and August, I did 90K in 60 days, which is like unheard of before in
Mm-hmm.
my business. And it's really the foundation. It's because I've been showing up and doing the
Yes.
things that I talk about for many, many, many years. And because I look like this, right? Because I'm not a 25-year-old white dude, it takes that much more time. And this whole thing about people of color and women having to like work 5 or 10 times harder, like it's not theoretical. Like that's what it means. It
Right.
means it took 7.5 years for me to get to a place of business where I'm like, oh, okay, yes, now I have the resources to hire help, which I've needed for years, but didn't have, right? Just so under resourced. A lot of women who hire me are doing it with their disaster loans from the government because of COVID. Um, so it really brings in the stark reality of what that means to be under resourced, what it means to take 5-10 times longer, but you will still get there if you don't quit.
Yes.
So yeah, be in for the long haul.
So congratulations, by the way. That
Thank
is
you.
a wonderful milestone to hit. And I'm glad that you said that it's, 7.5 years to get there, because that is definitely one of the fights that I am trying to have right now is $1 million in 30 days and all that garbage
Oh,
is not
yeah.
real.
No.
It's
And
not real.
I wrote a giant retrospective about like, okay, yeah, it's cool and sexy to say, like that 10K challenge I mentioned, I made 20K in 10 days, and 5 of those days I was on vacation, right? So that sounds really great, but I'm like, let me tell you what it actually took to get to that place, because
Yes.
I loathe when it's like these overnight success and results, and it's like, no, I suffer. And I'm constantly talking to my clients about like, this is what I had to go through to get where you see, where I can write content effortlessly, and where people just show up in my inbox and they want me to be on their podcast, or they want, like, that did not happen in 30 days. It didn't happen in a
Yes.
year. It didn't happen in 2 years. So you have to be in for the long haul.
Yes, exactly. I have had 2 experiences in my 11 years in this industry where I've been on teams, been a part of the team that created an 8-figure 24 hours. And that 8-figure 24 hours took our team 14 to 16 months to produce, and took the company, 8, 9, 10 years of staging and getting things ready and things like that before we produced that. And when you unpack these companies even the ones that show you the numbers, right? Oh, I did this launch. There's always that behind,
Mm-hmm.
all the building behind for years to get there. Is there a
Yeah.
unicorn out there that's done a, you know,
It just
7-figure
shows up
launch,
and
shows up and does? I'm sure there's one or two, but
potato salad guy.
yeah, you have as good a chance of winning the lottery.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's what I love about working with clients in a coaching relationship, is because
Mhm.
I feel like most of my job is just to remind them, like, you're in a process and you have to trust the
Mhm.
process. And one of my clients posted in our group yesterday someone came into or signed up for her meetup and then bought everything in her store, like all the products in her store. And she was like, talking to people really works. I just was like, like it was just like, laughing emoji, but also like, I totally understand, because when you're in the beginning of the process, it's like you're fanning this tiny little flame made of engagement from one person and a sale from another person and a like on your post from another person, and you're just catching up all these things and building on it. And in the beginning it's like, nobody loves me, and it's like, no, you've got engagement there, like training them to see it and nurture it. And I love it.
Yes, I love that too. I love the beautiful package that you've put together of digital strategy and coaching. I feel like that's always something I'm trying to do in my work as well. And I just love to see it out in the world. And I am grateful that you are doing it.
Me too. I mean, it took me a long time to find my sweet spot. It's like, it's a long journey from $500 websites to figuring out like what's actually the way that I can serve people and make impact. But totally
Yes,
worth it. Totally worth it.
it absolutely
I'm
is.
having more fun in my business now than ever before. And building a team is just making that even better. Like, I have amazing people on my team. So
That's awesome.
It's so good.
So, Kronda, we'll link to everything in the show notes that we've talked about, but where can people find you out on the interwebs?
On the interwebs, you can find me at all the places Carvel Digital. So carveldigital.com, Carvel Digital on Instagram, Facebook. We've got a free Facebook group that's Service CEOs that we can link to. And if you want to get on the waiting list to get early notification on my podcast that's coming up, you can go to carveldigital.com/podcast.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. This was awesome.
This was fun.